Have you ever felt like there's something more to life than what meets the eye? Do you sometimes sense that there are hidden forces at play, guiding your experiences and shaping your reality? What if I told you that there are 12 powerful spiritual laws that influence every aspect of your existence, whether you're aware of them or not? In this video, we'll uncover these hidden laws and explore how understanding and aligning with them can lead to a more fulfilling, purposeful, and abundant life. The first spiritual law we'll explore is the Law of Divine Oneness. This law states that everything in the universe is interconnected and part of a greater whole. From the tiniest atom to the vast expanse of galaxies, all is one. When we begin to understand this profound truth, it shifts our perspective on life. We start to see ourselves not as separate entities, but as integral parts of a magnificent cosmic tapestry. Recognizing our interconnectedness with all of creation can be a humbling and awe-inspiring realization. It helps us understand that our actions, thoughts, and emotions have a ripple effect on the world around us. When we harm others, we harm ourselves. When we show compassion and kindness, we contribute to the healing of the collective. By embracing the law of divine oneness, we cultivate a deep sense of belonging and responsibility towards all beings. How can we align with this law in our daily lives? One way is through the practice of meditation and mindfulness. By quieting the mind and turning our attention inward, we can experience a profound sense of connection to the universal energy that flows through us. We can also make conscious choices that honor the interconnectedness of all life, such as practicing kindness, compassion, and environmental stewardship. The second spiritual law is the law of vibration, which states that everything in the universe vibrates at a specific frequency. From the solid objects we perceive to the thoughts we think, all is in a constant state of vibration. This law is closely related to the law of divine oneness, as it suggests that the vibrations of all things are interconnected and influence one another. Understanding the law of vibration can be incredibly empowering, as it reminds us that we have the ability to change our reality by shifting our own vibrational frequency. When we focus on positive thoughts, emotions, and actions, we raise our vibration and attract experiences that resonate with that higher frequency. Conversely, when we dwell on negativity, fear, or limitation, we lower our vibration and attract more of the same. To align with the law of vibration, we can cultivate practices that elevate our energy and keep us in a state of positive resonance. This can include engaging in activities that bring us joy, surrounding ourselves with uplifting people and environments, and practicing gratitude and appreciation. By consciously choosing to vibrate at a higher frequency, we become a magnet for experiences that reflect our inner state of being. The third spiritual law is the law of correspondence, which teaches us that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. In other words, the circumstances and experiences we encounter in our lives are a direct result of our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. This law suggests that if we want to change our external reality, we must first change ourselves from within. When we understand the law of correspondence, we begin to take greater responsibility for our lives. Rather than blaming external factors for our challenges or limitations, we recognize that we have the power to shape our own destiny by mastering our inner landscape. By becoming aware of our thought patterns and belief systems, we can identify areas where we may be holding ourselves back and take steps to transform them. One powerful way to align with the law of correspondence is through the practice of self-reflection and introspection. By regularly taking time to examine our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we can gain valuable insights into the ways we create our reality. We can also use tools like affirmations, visualization, and self-inquiry to reprogram our minds and cultivate a more positive and empowering inner dialogue. Perhaps one of the most well-known spiritual laws is the law of attraction, which states that like attracts like. In other words, the thoughts, feelings, and energy we put out into the universe will attract experiences and circumstances that match that vibration. This law suggests that we are constantly creating our reality through the power of our focus and intention. The law of attraction has gained significant popularity in recent years, thanks in part to books and films that have brought this concept into the mainstream. However, it's important to understand that the law of attraction is not a magic wand that instantly manifests our desires. Rather, it is a principle that requires consistent alignment, action, and trust. To work with the law of attraction effectively, we must first become clear about what we want to create in our lives. This involves setting intentions that are specific, meaningful, and aligned with our core values. Once we have clarity around our desires, we can begin to cultivate the thoughts, feelings, and actions that support their manifestation. One key aspect of aligning with the law of attraction is learning to manage our thoughts and emotions. Since like attracts like, it's essential to focus on the positive aspects of what we want to create, rather than dwelling on what we don't want or fear. This can be challenging, especially when faced with difficult circumstances, but with practice, we can train our minds to seek out the good in every situation. Another important element of working with the law of attraction is taking inspired action towards our goals. While our thoughts and feelings play a crucial role in attracting our desires, we must also be willing to take concrete steps to bring them into reality. This may involve developing new skills, building relationships, or stepping outside our comfort zone. Ultimately, the law of attraction teaches us that we are the creators of our own reality. By focusing on abundance, positivity, and possibility, we can attract more of the same into our lives. As we learn to trust in the universe and our own creative power, we open ourselves up to a world of infinite potential. The fifth spiritual law is the law of inspired action, which reminds us that we must take aligned action towards our goals and dreams. While the law of attraction emphasizes the power of our thoughts and feelings, the law of inspired action recognizes that we are co-creators with the universe and that our actions play a crucial role in manifesting our desires. Inspired action is different from forced or desperate action. When we are in alignment with our true purpose and passions, we naturally feel called to take certain steps that support our growth and unfoldment. These actions may not always be easy or comfortable, but they feel right on a deep, intuitive level. To align with the law of inspired action, we must learn to trust our inner guidance and act on divine inspiration. This requires developing a strong connection to our intuition and learning to discern between the voice of our higher self and the voice of our ego or fears. As we cultivate this inner relationship, we become more attuned to the subtle promptings that guide us towards our highest path. One way to support inspired action is through the practice of meditation and stillness. By quieting the mind and creating space for inner wisdom to emerge, we can receive clear guidance on the steps we need to take. It's also important to cultivate a sense of faith and surrender, trusting that the universe is conspiring in our favor and that our actions are part of a greater plan. As we take inspired action towards our goals, it's essential to remain open and flexible. Sometimes the path ahead may not look like what we expected, and we may encounter obstacles or detours along the way. However, by staying connected to our inner guidance and trusting the journey, we can navigate these challenges with grace and resilience. Ultimately, the law of inspired action reminds us that we are not passive recipients of life's circumstances, but active participants in shaping our reality. By aligning our actions with our deepest truth and purpose, we become powerful co-creators, capable of manifesting our most cherished dreams and desires. The sixth spiritual law is the law of cause and effect, also known as the law of karma. This law states that every action has a corresponding reaction, and that the energy we put out into the world will eventually return to us in some form. In other words, we reap what we sow. The law of cause and effect is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all things and the responsibility we have for our choices and actions. It suggests that everything we do, say, or think has a ripple effect on the world around us, and that we cannot escape the consequences of our behavior. This law can be both empowering and sobering. On one hand, it reminds us that we have the power to create positive change in our lives and the world through our actions. By choosing to act with kindness, compassion, and integrity, we set in motion a chain of events that can have far-reaching effects. On the other hand, it also means that we must be willing to take responsibility for the impact of our choices, even when they have unintended consequences. To align with the law of cause and effect, we must cultivate a deep sense of mindfulness and intentionality in our actions. This involves considering the potential outcomes of our choices and acting in ways that are aligned with our values and the greater good. It also means being willing to take responsibility for our mistakes and make amends when necessary. One way to work with this law is through the practice of self-reflection and self-inquiry. By regularly examining our thoughts, words, and deeds, we can gain insight into the patterns and habits that shape our lives. We can also use this awareness to make more conscious choices moving forward, planting seeds of positivity and growth rather than negativity and destruction. Ultimately, the law of cause and effect is a powerful reminder of our interconnectedness and the impact we have on the world around us. By aligning our actions with our highest truth and purpose, we become a force for good in the world, creating ripples of positive change that extend far beyond our own lives. The seventh spiritual law is the law of compensation, which teaches us that we receive what we give. In other words, the energy we put out into the world, whether through our thoughts, words, or actions, will eventually come back to us in some form. This law is closely related to the law of cause and effect, but focuses specifically on the idea of energetic exchange. The law of compensation suggests that the universe operates on a system of perfect balance and reciprocity. When we give freely and generously of our time, energy, and resources, we open ourselves up to receiving abundance in return. Conversely, when we withhold or act from a place of scarcity or fear, we limit the flow of good into our lives. One powerful way to align with the law of compensation is through the practice of gratitude and generosity. By cultivating a deep sense of appreciation for all the blessings in our lives, we shift our focus from lack to abundance. And by giving freely and joyfully to others, we create a powerful energetic circuit that attracts more goodness and abundance into our own lives. It's important to note that the law of compensation is not about giving with the expectation of receiving something in return. Rather, it's about recognizing the inherent value in the act of giving itself. When we give from a place of pure love and compassion, without attachment to outcome, we align ourselves with the highest vibration of the universe. Another way to work with the law of compensation is through the practice of forgiveness and letting go. When we hold on to resentment, blame, or victimhood, we create energetic blockages that prevent the flow of abundance in our lives. By releasing these negative attachments and choosing to forgive ourselves and others, we open up space for new blessings and opportunities to enter. Ultimately, the law of compensation reminds us of the power of our thoughts, words, and actions to shape our reality. By aligning ourselves with the energy of love, generosity, and abundance, we become a magnet for all that is good and beautiful in the world. As we give freely and joyfully to others, we create a powerful ripple effect that touches countless lives and contributes to the healing and transformation of the planet. The eighth spiritual law is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, which teaches us that energy is constantly moving and transforming. This law suggests that everything in the universe is in a constant state of change and evolution, and that even the most challenging circumstances contain the seeds of growth and transformation. At its core, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy is about recognizing the impermanence of all things and learning to flow with the natural rhythms of life. It reminds us that even in the midst of darkness and difficulty, there is always the potential for light and growth. By embracing change and finding opportunity in challenges, we align ourselves with the transformative power of the universe. One way to work with this law is through the practice of acceptance and surrender. When we resist change or cling to the familiar, we create energetic blockages that prevent the flow of new possibilities in our lives. By learning to let go of attachment and control, we open ourselves up to the transformative power of the present moment. Another way to align with the law of perpetual transmutation of energy is through the practice of self-reflection and inner work. By exploring our own patterns and belief systems, we can identify areas where we may be stuck or limiting ourselves. Through practices like meditation, journaling, or therapy, we can begin to transmute these energetic blockages and create space for new growth and evolution. Ultimately, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy reminds us that we are not static beings, but ever-evolving expressions of the universe. By embracing change and finding opportunity in challenges, we align ourselves with the transformative power of life itself. As we learn to flow with the natural rhythms of existence, we become co-creators of our own reality, capable of manifesting our deepest dreams and desires. The ninth spiritual law is the law of relativity, which teaches us that everything is relative and that our experiences are shaped by our perspective. In other words, the way we perceive and interpret the events of our lives has a profound impact on our reality. The law of relativity suggests that there is no absolute truth or objective reality, but rather a multitude of subjective experiences that are colored by our own beliefs, expectations, and past experiences. What may seem like a catastrophe to one person may be a blessing in disguise to another, depending on their unique perspective and understanding. One powerful way to work with the law of relativity is through the practice of gratitude and reframing. By intentionally focusing on the blessings and opportunities in every situation, we can shift our perception from one of lack and limitation to one of abundance and possibility. Even in the midst of great challenges, we can find something to be grateful for, whether it's a lesson learned, a strength discovered, or a connection deepened. Another way to align with the law of relativity is through the practice of non-judgment and compassion. When we judge ourselves or others harshly, we create energetic barriers that prevent the flow of love and understanding. By cultivating a spirit of compassion and acceptance, we open ourselves up to new perspectives and possibilities. Ultimately, the law of relativity reminds us that our reality is not fixed or predetermined, but rather a reflection of our own consciousness. By choosing to focus on the good and find the silver lining in every situation, we become the creators of our own experience. As we learn to see the world through the lens of love and possibility, we tap into the infinite potential of the universe and manifest a life of joy, purpose, and fulfillment. The 10th spiritual law is the law of polarity, which teaches us that opposites are two sides of the same coin and that they complement each other. This law suggests that everything in the universe has its opposite, and that these opposites are necessary for the existence and balance of the whole. In our own lives, we often experience the law of polarity through the interplay of light and dark, joy and sorrow, love and fear. While we may be tempted to label one side as good and the other as bad, the law of polarity reminds us that both are necessary and valuable in their own way. For example, without the experience of darkness, we would not fully appreciate the beauty and warmth of light. Without the contrast of sorrow, we would not know the depth and sweetness of joy. And without the challenge of fear, we would not have the opportunity to cultivate courage and resilience. One way to work with the law of polarity is through the practice of acceptance and integration. Rather than resisting or rejecting the aspects of ourselves or our lives that we deem negative, we can learn to embrace them as part of the wholeness of our being. By acknowledging and honoring the full spectrum of our experience, we create space for greater balance and harmony. Another way to align with the law of polarity is through the practice of non-duality and unity consciousness. When we recognize that all opposites are ultimately expressions of the same underlying reality, we begin to see beyond the illusion of separation and division. We understand that even in the midst of great polarity and contrast, there is an essential oneness that connects us all. Ultimately, the law of polarity reminds us that the challenges and contrasts of life are not obstacles to be overcome, but opportunities for growth and transformation. By learning to find balance and harmony between seemingly contradictory forces, we tap into the creative power of the universe and manifest a life of wholeness and integration. As we embrace the full spectrum of our experience, we become a living embodiment of the unity and diversity of all that is. The 11th spiritual law is the law of rhythm, which teaches us that life moves in cycles and patterns, and that everything has its own unique rhythm. This law suggests that just as the seasons change and the tides ebb and flow, so too do the circumstances and experiences of our lives.